got to do a paper 1, question 3. Okay, so that is your extended bit. Now it says, use the whole of the source. How does the writer structure the text to interest you as a reader? Now remember that these boxes are to emphasize that this is the beginning, the middle, and the end. And the source that you want to be looking at is the source right at the beginning of the booklet. So you've got the source about the whisperers. Now, when looking at the source, remember that you want to be thinking about a structure. So I'm going to give you some ideas. I'm not going to read the full source because I want to make it nice and quick. But it's kind of the way that I like to think about things. Now, remember, to get top marks when it comes to structure, it's about making links between the sections of the text. So, for example, if I read the beginning, so it says here, there was a boy who heard the whispers. He heard them late in the day as the lazy sun dipped below the treetops, and the woods behind his house came alive with the magic of twilight. The voices came to him so gently he thought it might be the wind or the first trickle of summer rain. But as time passed, the voices grew louder, and the boy was sure they were calling his name. So he followed them. So one of the first things that you get, I suppose, at the beginning of the source is this introduction of the boy and the whispers. So you've got an introduction of character or characters. And the beginning is this idea of actually creating a kind of like a mystical, enchanting, magical beginning, because it's about the way that the voices came to him gently, and he thought that it might be the wind. So at the beginning, it's not clear. It's not clear what the voices are there for. Now, in particular, you've got this idea that they came in gently and that he thought they might be the wind, so suggesting that at the beginning of the source, the voices are not that loud, okay? The other thing that you get at the beginning of the source as well is that you get this introduction of the woods, okay? And I suppose that is to do with the setting. Now, when we think about the settings of some woods, and the fact that there might be these mystical voices in there, it kind of creates something a bit like a fairy tale or something kind of magical. So it makes it seem slightly different. Okay, so the beginning is all about setting these whispers that are not very loud and they're not very clear. Now, one of the things that you kind of get throughout the source as it develops, it says, after waiting quietly for some time, the whispers garbled words finally and began to make sense. So I'm just going to highlight this bit about the whispers garbled words finally. Now, they even told him how long he would live. The boy was pleased. So one of the things that you start getting is that as the source develops, the boy is able to understand more easily what the whispers are saying. The whispers told the boy that if he bought them a tribute, so you've got this idea here of the tribute. Now that to me seems a new idea. So I'm going to focus here. So in the middle, I've got the words. So as the source develops, in the middle, they told the boy that they knew everything. So in the middle, you've got a change of focus from the initial meeting to now the voices being clear to the point that they predict the future for him. They told him how long he would live, okay? And that again kind of adds, now if they can tell him how long he will live, that links to the beginning, suggesting that they are this kind of mystical and magical. Now, the next bit of the source changes to this idea that they want him to bring a tribute. Okay, so the boy says, asking for a tribute. So again, you've got a change of focus. Now, because I've got ideas already from the beginning and 2 ideas from the middle, I might actually look at what happens in the end. Now, after the boy brings them the tribute, so in the middle, he brings them the tribute. The following afternoon, as the sun was setting, now look at this, actually, the sun gets mentioned at the beginning. He heard them late, and the sun dipped below the treetops. So the sun is setting at the beginning. The following afternoon, as the sun is setting, sun dipped below the treetops, and the woods behind him, to the magic of twilight. Again, so we've got that repetition of getting dark and getting twilight. He went back to the clearing in the woods with the jam tucked under his arm. When the boy's father got home from work that evening, his mood was lighter than usual. The lines of worry had completely vanished from his face. He told the family that he's received a promotion. Now this becomes important because at the ending, or in the ending of the story, one of the things is we see it ends in a positive way. And it ends in a positive way because the dad has had a promotion. Now, even though we're not told why he's got the promotion, of course, that links to the middle because the tribute that the boy has given has paid off. And why does he do this? It's because it emphasizes that the whispers are magical. You might also want to talk about the fact that he uses, or the writer uses, a bit of a cyclical structure by repeating this idea of twilight or getting dark. And this is maybe to emphasize, again, this idea of something magical, something unknown, something mystical. So the writer repeats this idea of the sun getting dark to introduce that idea of darkness. However, the overall kind of feel of the source, even though it starts a bit eerie and a bit dark, is overall positive because the dad gets that promotion at the end. So when you're thinking about planning your idea, so your answer, think about what you want to focus in terms of at the beginning. So you might want to focus in terms of the fact that you've got the character that's being introduced, the boy, and the whispers. Now the whispers, I'm going to draw them like this, like in dark, but they're not clear. We don't know what they're saying. Then as the source develops, the whispers become clear and they ask for a tribute. Now, the beginning and the middle link is because you see that development of the whispers. So the beginning, he couldn't understand the whispers, and then the whispers are really clear. And it emphasizes that magic between, or maybe that relationship between the boy and the whispers. Maybe the boy is trusting them. Maybe the whispers are trusting the boy. And then at the end, we find out that the boy's dad, that's a tie in case you're wondering what that is, he's got a tie and a hat, he gets a promotion. Now that is because that promotion is linked to the tribute in the middle, and it overall emphasizes that the whispers are magical. And so it reminds us of the initial presentation of the whispers as magical. Okay? So remember that you can use your knowledge book to answer this question. If you turn to page, let me just find it for you, page 7 of your knowledge book. Page 7 of your knowledge book. You've got that sentence structure here, sentence structures here that you can use. In the beginning, the writer's doing this. In the end, the writer's doing this. The writer contrasts the beginning with the end. But remember that one of the things that really gets you the marks is to really ensure that you're talking about the effects. This creates because it reminds them of earlier in the story, and this links to the end. So remember that you want to be using this to make sure that you are actually linking the sections for structure. Okay? So, good luck with that, Year 10. If you've got any questions or are worried about anything, remember that Homework Club is on Tuesdays after school, and Wednesday's lunchtime.